What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again. And yeah, we're going to finish up the last two games of the week and give you my previews and my thoughts on those two games. But first, before we do, I'm going to kind of wrap up what we had with our Thursday night game. If you missed it, you missed out on a really good time. I live streamed the whole game. It was fun to sit down with all of you that sat there and watched it with me, and you know how we all kind of were in it, and then it just, the last couple minutes just drug on, and the craziness just kept piling up. It was a fun game all the way around, and actually, when you looked at the stats and everything at the end of the game, it looked kind of like a bland game, but it really kept you involved the whole game, really up until the last few minutes. Really, the Dragons had complete control of this game, and if it weren't for turnovers again, the reality is that the Roughnecks really wouldn't have scored anything in this game. You kind of felt bad for the Roughnecks. They had the injury bug bit them in this one, and you could definitely tell. You could tell that Borgie was hurt. Kirkland was out, and that defense really got after Silvers and gave him a lot of struggles throughout the game. Hats off to that defense. That defense for the Dragons was legit the other night, and so it was really fun. It was a fun game to watch. It was great to interact with all of you. It was kind of funny. It ended up, the final score ended up being like what you would see with a regular football game, but it was anything but a regular football game. It was a nail biter all the way down to the end, and it was actually kind of a neat kind of a finish. Danucci is one of those guys to where when you see him, about 75% of the time he looks like an NFL quarterback, and that other 25% of the time you know why he is not. I mean, and it showed in this one, and he had some help in the situations with some of the wide receivers not necessarily doing what they were supposed to be doing, but unfortunately it falls back on the quarterback. And so it was kind of cool to see, and it was really cool to see June Jones being the offensive coordinator, being the one to take down his old team. He was 5-0 with his old team, and he made his old team 4-1, kept them from going 5-0. So it was a cool thing. Cool thing all the way around. AJ Smith, who was kind of one of his proteges, who was the offensive coordinator on the other side. It was really kind of a really neat slugfest of like two teams that knew from the coaching staffs, knew each other very well, knew the schemes from each other, knew what they were wanting to do. And, it was just all around fun, weird. It just, those games are too late. 10:30 is just way too late. I think 9:30 is about as late as I want to get, especially with those games. At the end of the game, they can drag on for quite a while. But all in all, it was fun. Those are my kind of recap thoughts. If you get a chance, you want to rewatch the live stream, go right ahead. If we can find another game where it isn't so late and it's kind of the last game of the night, maybe. And if I don't have anything going on, we'll do another live stream coming up here soon, because that was definitely fun. So moving on to our Saturday night game, our late game we're talking about here. And this one's at 10 p.m. This one's going to be at Cashman Field. It's going to be on FX. We're going to be back in Vegas. That's right. We're going to be at Cashman Field. We've got the Orlando Guardians coming into town. They are going to be taking on the hometown Vegas Vipers. And the Vipers are, believe it or not, a 7.5 point favorite in this one. They're giving Orlando 7.5 points. This is kind of crazy to me. I don't know it. That baffles me. The other thing that baffles me is we've got 42 points for the over-under here. I'm just kind of surprised with both of these teams that maybe the thought process here is that they're both going to make enough mistakes that the other team's going to take advantage, that it's just going to be a high-scoring game because of just all of the ridiculousness that's going to happen. Maybe that's what Vegas is thinking with these numbers. I don't know, but it sounds crazy. It's kind of crazy to me. Hopefully, the weather will not be an issue in this game. It's supposed to be sunny skies, clear skies for Saturday night. So hopefully that we don't get any of that weather playing a factor there at Cashman Field, because you and I both already know the fact that that field's already the grass is a disaster as it is, so it needs all the help that it can get. So hopefully it's clear skies for them the whole night. Now, looking at the Guardians and the keys to the game for the Guardians, they really need to cut down on the penalties. The penalties are really, really hurting this team all the way around, especially on offense. They get things going and then they get themselves set back, and this is a team that can't get set back. Whatever, it seems like they can never get over that hump. They always find ways to make it difficult for themselves and create holes that they can never get out of. This is a team that starts fast, starts early, does a pretty decent job, and then goes from there. Now, having the new offensive coordinator coming in last week, it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with this quarterback, this whole quarterback situation. So now, believe it or not, they've got 4 quarterbacks on roster. So if you hadn't heard, Quentin Dormady is back on the team. They went through the investigation, found that nothing happened. There wasn't anything egregious that happened, so he's back on the team. I don't know what that means, but he's back on the team. You got Quentin Flowers, who has been with the team now for a couple weeks. You've got DeAndre Francois, and then you've got Paxton Lynch. We haven't heard anything out of their camp, whether or not Paxton Lynch is gonna sit or if he's going to play. It's kind of one of those things to where when you actually look at his stats, you're like, wow, that's kind of actually impressive. The reality is he's only thrown 1 interception on the season. He's, number 4 when it comes to passing yards. And, he's got 60% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns to 1 interception. He just looks, half the time he looks good. The other half the time he doesn't look good at all. It'll be interesting to see how short that leash will be this week for him, or if DeAndre Francois will come out right away. It does look like Buckley is ready to make changes and to try to figure out and do some drastic changes to figure out what works and what will. So we might see DeAndre Francois, and we might see a little bit of a different type of a team this week. Regardless of that, they need to not forget about running the ball. I think that this is a team that can run the ball fairly well if they want to, and I think in this game that could take some pressure off of the quarterbacks, especially against that Vegas team, to kind of just offset that Vegas defense a little bit, keep them honest and not always coming after their quarterbacks, because that Guardians team they struggle with the quarterback protection. It's been a little bit better the past couple of weeks, but it's still nothing great at all. The quarterbacks are still running for their lives, so they definitely need to kind of stick with running the ball, and I think Martin is a really good option for them there. If he can keep from fumbling the ball, I think that he could do great things for them in this game. And the biggest factor here for them is just really don't make mistakes. They just keep making mistakes, and it just piles up to where by the time you look up, you're down 20-0 in the first quarter. I mean, it is ridiculous with this team, the mistakes that they make and the issues that they have. But if they can fix some of that stuff, this is a game that they can win. And this is a team too, now, especially with the way that with Houston losing, and you've got the Renegades who are not looking good right now, and you got the Brahmas who I think can possibly beat them. We'll talk about that game because that'll be the next upcoming game. But if that's the case, you could have 2 teams sitting at 2-3 on the season, fighting for that playoff spot, to where if this Guardians team wins this week, they are literally 1 game out of the playoffs, which is crazy. And they still have obviously multiple opportunities to play these other teams, and they've already got both of their games against Houston out of the way, so they can get no more losses, from that Houston team, to where it really bodes well for them if they can really right this ship. They have a legitimate path to the playoff. Even if the Renegades do win, They're only 2 games back halfway through the season. That gives them 5 games to make it up. I mean, this is they have hope here. And so I think that if they can clean up mistakes, that hope could take them places. This Vipers team now, turning our attention to the Vipers team. This is also another team that really needs to fix the penalties. And a lot of it doesn't really have to do with the offense. It has to do with the lack of discipline on defense. The defense will go and they will get stops. They'll put the team in a bad position, and all of a sudden they'll do a stupid play like a pass interference or roughing the passer or a face mask or something like that was just kind of or something unnecessary that will then extend the drive for the other team, and then the other team will take the advantage of that and go down and score. This is actually a decent defense if they could just play, with composure and have some discipline. I think that this defense can do well, but they need to clean up the penalties on both sides of the ball, but definitely on that defensive side of the ball. And they need to find a run game here. I mean, part of it is predicated by all of the issues that they've had, but they need to figure something out. And whether that's running Hundley, which I think if he's healthy, that is a really good option for them to open up that running game. But they need a running game to complement that passing game. I think that the passing game can be explosive with both Perez and with Hundley, especially in this game. I think that both of those quarterbacks can win this game for them, to where I understand where Vegas is coming with the 7.5 points and looking at it that way. But there's just a lot more factors to it. But I think that if they can figure out how to run the ball and maybe change some of that stuff up and get that running game going, that's really going to open up things for this offense. The third thing that I have here is again, limit the mistakes. They make way too many mistakes, whether it be fumbling the ball in the first play, that sets up the other team. The list goes on. I felt like this team, it's almost like this team's cursed, whereas the Guardians, it's kind of like you see the writing on the wall. It's just so bad that you can't even think that it's cursed. It's like this Vipers team, it doesn't matter whether it be the weather, whether it be the way the ball bounces, whether it be a penalty. I mean, it just always seems that there's always something in their way that is keeping them from winning games. And it's just those weird little roadblock things, to where if they can figure out how to get rid of those mistakes, then this is a team that not only could win this game, but could do some damage. I think that they're out of the playoff picture. That ship sailed, especially with Seattle winning the game like they did the other night. But I still think that this team could be a force to be reckoned with. Both of these coaches are on the hot seat right now. I think that more than likely you probably won't see Buckley back next year, and more than likely you won't see Woodson. I don't see a scenario where he comes back coaching this team next year. Buckley, I still really feel like has a shot to come back and coach. And really, this game is the start for both of these teams. I kind of joke about it being the toilet bowl and that with it, but really this could launch it for this Guardians team. This Guardians team still has stuff to play for, and that's why I like them in this game. That's why I like what's there for them. Whereas with the Vipers, I feel like, so the Guardians have been kind of this. The Guardians were really low, then they kind of came up, and then they kind of leveled off and kind of went down, and kind of that. The Vipers just kind of were like, okay, and then things just took a nosedive, and you really didn't know how bad they were until you started seeing all of this stuff transpire on the during the midweek, and then towards, and then in the game last week, and got to see, them just kind of implode in the actual game. I see them imploding again. They're at home. I see the Guardians coming away with a win. when I look at this is going to be a high-scoring game because I think of mistakes. It's going to be each team is going to be giving up either turnovers, mistakes, whatever you want, chances to the other team that the other team's going to take advantage of, and they're just kind of going to go back and forth with probably just ridiculousness, and that's probably what this game's going to be, to where it's going to be really entertaining to watch the coaches on the sidelines getting angry at everybody and yelling at everybody. And then also, watching the ridiculousness of fumbles and all sorts of craziness, interceptions, guys being completely wide open. It'll be fun to catch all the weird plays that are going to happen out of this game. But I've got the Guardians 34-28. Like I said, it just seems to be that this Vipers team is cursed. They don't really have a whole lot to play for in that North, and really the Guardians are still in it, and they have a lot of hope there in the South. And if they can figure out a few things, I think that Guardians team, could in a weak division could make the playoffs, which gives them hope. So I'm going with the Guardians 34-28. Definitely take the points, and I'm looking at the over in this game. Now, moving our attention to the Sunday night game at 10 p.m., and I get it, we got March Madness this weekend, but these late games are killing me. It's going to be on ESPN2. It's going to be at the Alamo Dome. We're back at the Alamo Dome. The place is going to be rocking. I think we're going to have over 20,000 fans there. They're going to be there to see their hometown Brahmas taking on the Arlington Renegades. The Renegades are getting 2 points in this game. The over-under is really the lowest for the week. We've got 35.5 points in this one. Now, looking at the Renegades, this is a team that needs to figure out their quarterback's position. Bob Stoops has already been out and saying that they're back to a full-on quarterback competition. I don't know how true that is or what that is, but they're trying to figure it out on quarterback. And I think that not only quarterback here, but they need to open up this offense. And so it's like kind of like the first two keys to the game that I have for them are that they need to figure out who their quarterback is. The second thing is they need to figure out their playmakers. And the idea between the two is to open up the field and get the ball down the field to these playmakers. And I think that that'll open up this whole offense here, because the reality of it is the defense has actually been playing really good. I really like the way that the defense has been playing. It's just that their offense has just been so dismal that teams have been able to take advantage of that, wear down that defense, and win games, because that defense has been getting takeaways. And that's my third thing, is the defense needs to keep playing the way that they've been playing. If they keep playing the way that they're playing and they can get something going on offense, find some playmakers, open up that offense, and start getting that ball down the field, and obviously find their quarterback with that. If they can do those things, then this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially in that South, which is wide open right now. And the crazy thing is they're sitting right there in the playoff spot, to where it's theirs for the taking if they just can figure out it on offense and take it. The defense has kind of been that, to where they've been getting takeaways. The offense just hasn't been able to do anything with the ball. So if they can keep playing the way that they've been playing, especially against this kind of lackluster Brahmas team, get some opportunities, that will bode well for this team. Now, looking at the Brahmas, the first thing that they really need to do is, again, they're another team that needs to open up this offense. They're another one that they're looking to make some changes, and I think that they can. I think that this is a team, as I'm going and looking at their roster, it's not, they don't go down the field very often, and they've been relying a lot in the passing game on Yelder and Mack, their tight ends, and that's what Jake Cohn's really been relying on there. Now they've been getting some other guys in the mix, in this. I'm looking at like Tolver and Vasher, but really that's been their go-to guys, are their tight ends. And if they can figure out how to get these wide receivers more into this game, that's really going to open things up, because I think that they've got a really decent running game, and they need to not forget about that run. So if you're looking for keys to the game, the second thing is not forget about the run. They need to fix the pass, but don't hurt the run in that with it. I think that teams have kind of been taken, because the run is better than than their downfield passing game, to where they've been kind of keying on that run game. And with Balaj and Patrick, I think that those guys and the way that offense has been doing things for the run game, I think they need to stick with it. And I think that run game will actually open up if they can figure out how to get the ball down the field. So don't forget about the run game. And the third thing is that they, on the flip side, they need to make that Renegades team go deep on them. I think that they can really put pressure with their defense on the Renegades, get guys like 9 guys up in the box and really just come at them, this Renegades team, and really make them try to find somebody to be a playmaker, put that quarterback in a really bad position, because they just don't have those guys. When you look at this Arlington roster, you've got Vaughn Smallwood, but you're like, outside of Sal Calanella, who's done anything there? And if you got a guy on Sal Calanella, put one high over top, you pretty much have taken their playmaker away from them. And I think Sal Calanella is great, but they need somebody else besides him to step up. And, Vaughn's can easily be that guy, but the problem is like when it's been his opportunity to shine, he just hasn't been able to really convert that for this team. So if I were the Brahmas, I would just come after the short game and take away the short stuff with the Renegades and make them try to beat you down the field, because they haven't shown that they can do that yet. This game I have the under with. I think that this is going to be a low scoring game. This is going to be an interesting one to see how both of these teams develop in this game. But I've got the Brahmas 17-12. I think that crowd is going to play a factor in that dome. I think 20,000 people there are going to make it a little bit tough for this Renegades team. They're not going to be used to that type of a crowd against them, and I think that that's going to cause them some issues, and I still think that they're not going to find that playmaker that they need to really take this offense where it needs to go. I think it's going to be more of a defensive kind of game, with the Brahmas kind of coming out on top with just their relentless just kind of grind of an offense that just ends up winning them this game. I've got a 17-12 win for the Brahmas, so I would definitely go ahead and give up those 2 points and go with the under there. And those are the rest of my games for the week. As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, and we'll continue the conversation on down there. Listen, guys, I know that you're busy, and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. Have a good night. Bye.